Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Project Infinite podcast, the podcast covering the infinite and ever-expanding multiverse of fandom, from movies, comics, TV shows, video games. We got you covered, and we're here. We're back for the Batman.
We're back.
We're back.
This is the last one.
Yeah, this is it. The last episode. Mm-hmm. Last episode ever.
Yep.
We're shutting down the podcast
This is it. This is it. We're moving to Gotham City after this, so
yeah.
Wish us luck.
I'm Rob. I'm here as always with Courtney, and Courtney, we got a lot of news this week before we talk Batman, which is fine, because we already did a non-spoiler review of the Batman.
I wonder what the first piece of news is going to be.
Oh, man, if you thought it was an Oppenheimer casting, then you lost, because guess what? More Oppenheimer casting. Unfortunately, this didn't happen on Tuesday. It happened, last week sometime. But, look, as the foremost Oppenheimer podcast in the world, I would say. I don't want to overstep, but...
I'm getting us to that premiere. We need to be at that premiere.
We got to the Batman early.
Yeah, we saw the Batman 3 days early.
We're on our way up.
Yeah, so I guess Doctor Strange, we got to see it a week early, and then we just keep going from there.
Yeah, so James Darcy of Agent Carter fame, and Michael Angarano.
Sure.
Not familiar with his work, but...
They're both in Oppenheimer.
Yes. So... That's it.
That's it. That's it.
We're moving on to the next
So
thing.
I was watching Tenet last night, and I love how, I don't know if it was intentional, but so spoilers for Tenet if you hadn't seen it in the last 2 years, but the whole point is there's a scientist from the future that wants to destroy humanity because they want to reinvert the world.
Oh, I love Terminator.
Yeah. Nope. It's the wrong one. But the scientists in the future, they label her as her generation's Oppenheimer. And then I thought about it, and I was like, did he tease Oppenheimer in Tenet? Is he turning into his own cinematic universe?
Oh, the Nolan cinematic universe?
The Nolanverse?
What a wild universe that would be.
Are we going to incorporate the nuclear bomb from Dark Knight Rises to get this full circle?
If only.
Hey, man. And then I guess whatever happens for that inversion, you get a black hole opened up through space so Matthew McConaughey can go through. I think it's all connected.
We need a Nolan-esque Infinity War style movie.
Yeah.
And then it pans out like Men in Black style, and you realize it all happened inside the head of the guy from Inception.
Yeah. Oh my god. And it's just Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy's there multiple times.
Yeah, he just is.
He's a nexus being of the Nolan universe.
He is. I guess it would just happen inside Cillian Murphy's mind. Is Cillian Murphy just Loki in the sense?
I guess he could be.
I think we're talking about Christopher Nolan too much.
But we're double barreling this week because
Yeah.
we also have Dune news.
Thank God. If you thought we were gone, we're back.
This is the best episode ever.
Yeah, I also watched Dune last night. And I didn't do this intentionally.
I didn't know your days had 37 hours in them.
Yeah, sorry. We'll talk about long movies in a little bit, but yeah, I watched Dune. But if you're a fan of the Dune lore, which I have definitely become over the last year, we have some new casting and something I'm super excited about. So basically we got half of the Dune book in part 1. And I'm so glad that, they didn't even leave it up to, the imagination that was very definitively a part 1. So in part 2, there are 3 important characters that need to be introduced. Emperor Shaddam IV, Princess Irulan, and Fade Ratha. And we got Princess Irulan, and it is no other than everybody's favorite from this year, Florence Pugh of Black Widow fame, will be Princess Irulan. So I think that's a good piece of casting. I think what it does is kind of, it just adds a familiar face. They kind of just who's young in Hollywood around Timothée Chalamet's age, and they already were in Little Women together. So I mean, they already got the chemistry on board. So I think it's a good piece of casting. I know we were talking about Anya Taylor-Joy for a little bit. I think she also would have been. I don't know. Anya Taylor-Joy just has this royal feel to her, if that makes sense. But I think that you substitute that with her natural charisma for Florence Pugh, and kind of she demands screen presence when she's at anything. So I think that's a good piece of casting. And like I said, she's already worked with Timmy before, so I think it's gonna work well. How you feel? How you feeling about that?
It's good. It's we're quietly shaping the Dune cast into a star-studded affair.
Right? Yeah. Right. And we're going to see because the next piece is probably going to be Fade, and that one's probably going to be the one where they're going to try to get one of the top billed actors in the world. I know Tom Holland's name's been thrown out there. What people really want to see after this Batman movie is people really want to see Robert Pattinson's name thrown in there as well. And then we have the Emperor, of course, is somebody else. So I said Michael Fassbender would be an amazing Emperor. I don't know if they're going to swing it, but Giancarlo Esposito would be a phenomenal Emperor for that as well.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree with both those things. I've seen Barry Keoghan's name passed around
for Fade. Yeah.
Apparently he would want to do it. Yeah. Also, which, I mean, we'll talk about him a little bit later.
Yeah.
In terms of the future as far as the Batman and what he may or may not be doing in that.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, these are a couple pretty heavy-handed characters coming into the Duneverse.
Yeah, I mean, Dune is so expansive. That world and that lore is just, it's so interesting in my opinion. It's something that's so rich as well, and it really is like the godfather of all the science fiction lore, especially the modern day, quote unquote modern day, because it was made in the 60s, but still same concept. It really is kind of like the driving force for a lot of the cliches and a lot of like the forces we get from it. So no, this is a good piece of casting. I can't wait for this movie. Like I said, I was watching Dune last night, and that movie's just so subtle. And when you asked me at the end, because I did just watch a new science fiction movie with everybody's favorite Colin Farrell, so I'll talk about that at the end. But man, it's science fiction done so subtly and so well, in my opinion.
Yeah, and so moving on, we kind of spoke this one into existence. So Amazon has greenlit a God of War TV show. So
if we're going to see Oppenheimer at the premiere, does that mean we get to write and direct the God of War show?
I guess. Yeah, we just talked about this and how this was something that we both felt they were kind of approaching. I didn't think it was going to be this soon.
Yeah, they must have listened.
But yeah, so that's where we're at. Obviously, the big question, obviously, is A, what is this going to look like? And B, who's going to play Kratos? I mean, that's the most important part. I threw out Dave Bautista to you the other day.
And it's funny because I was playing God of War a little bit, and I can see it in the way of like, if you do a little bit more because Kratos doesn't really, expel a whole lot of emotion every second than other characters do. So I think if you kind of take that into account, kind of have him be a little bit more subtle, I think Dave Bautista can pull that off. I think Dave Bautista's really formulated himself into a pretty solid actor, in my opinion. I mean, if you've seen him in Blade Runner, he had some good bits in Army of the Dead. Like, I think he's really, evolved his acting skills. So I think that's not a bad casting.
Yeah, that was, for some reason, that was like the first name that came to my mind, because he can portray kind of both sides of Kratos that you see throughout the arcs of all the God of War games. The early Kratos, who's like the Spartan warrior and is vengeful and full of just rage. Batista can play that very well. I mean, that harkens a little bit kind of to Drax, in terms of just being one set minded and having one mission and one mission only. And then I think Dave Bautista could also play the kind of reserved, quiet kind of Kratos that you get in the newer God of War games newer God of War game. So I don't know.
Yeah, one more. Jason Momoa. I just think he's too
cool.
And he already kind of did that a little bit. In Game of Thrones.
Yeah, Khal Drogo. Yeah.
He's beating around the bush a little bit in that one, so I could see how that wouldn't work. I just Googled fan casting and see what hit. So that was a big one. People are obviously throw out The Rock because he's bald. So yeah. And then our guy from The Flash, Heatwave, that was a name that was in from Legends of Tomorrow.
Oh, Dominic Purcell.
Yeah, that was a name that was also thrown out a little bit. That would be interesting.
Yeah, but
maybe they get an unknown or something that's a little bit, not as notable.
It could be, because, I mean, we've seen that with Lord of the Rings. The Lord of the Rings prequel, which is also being done by Amazon. Not a star-studded cast by any means, so I could see them going that route. But I mean, clearly there is some faith in these PlayStation properties. We talked about Uncharted, how well Uncharted did in theaters, and The Last of Us picking up steam as far as anticipation.
And you have Pedro Pascal playing your lead.
Yeah.
And then we have this Ghost of Tsushima game, or movie, which I think is going to perform well. Like we said, if you get a solid director to do that, and you just get the guy that did the mocap and the voice for Jin Sakai, I think you have another hit on your hands. So the Sonyverse is building.
Yeah. So we have more casting news for Kraven. And
this Kraven movie's catching some heat.
Yeah, so Alessandro Nivola has been cast as the main villain of Kraven. Who's the main villain of Kraven?
We don't know.
You'd assume that Kraven would be the main villain of Kraven, but no.
Did you not watch all of the Morbius trailers? They said this Marvel legend will blur the line between hero and villain.
Side note, can we stop calling Morbius a Marvel legend?
What do you mean? You didn't watch the 90s Spider-Man animated show?
They need to stop pushing this narrative, okay?
And he's a Marvel legend. You love to see it.
They're like, what is it? A Marvel legend will rise or something like that?
Yeah.
Like, calm down. You're not making a Fantastic Four movie.
Yeah.
Okay? But yeah.
Morbius. That review is going to be absolutely... I can't wait.
Especially with this new gag that I've invented for the Batman, which is coming up soon.
Yes. I guess for that one, if it's a bad movie, you have to read the good reviews.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, that's going to be good.
But, yeah, I don't know, man. We talked about Kraven last week, and what is this, and what's the story, and what's going on.
I mean, the cast is pretty solid.
The cast is pretty good.
You have Russell Crowe and Aaron Taylor Johnson. Again, watch Tenet. He was in Tenet. I really like Aaron Taylor Johnson. I think he's a pretty good actor. I think he can have some fun with that too. Hopefully, we just get Andrew Garfield to be your Spider-Man if we're gonna do this. If you're gonna do it, then have Spider-Man. It's just like which we'll talk about with the Batman, all this extended lore that they're doing on HBO Max. What good is it going to do you without the Batman himself? So
right. Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be another Sony thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably going to fall somewhere between Venom and Morbius. That's the spectrum right now.
We'll see.
So I had Batman stuff, but I'm just going to save that before the Batman, we talk about that. I Am Legend is happening again.
Mm-hmm. Following the alternate ending. Spoilers for the last, how many years of your life? 20 years of your life?
First appearance of Batman v Superman.
Right,
was an I Am Legend.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Will Smith is back.
And Michael B. Jordan is supposed to star in this, so I don't know how this is going to look. Is he going to play his son?
I mean,
Is he going to play older Jaden Smith? You know what I was thinking? Just get Jaden Smith to play Jaden Smith.
No. Have you ever seen After Earth? No good.
If we were going to survive this, no, let's not talk about After Earth. It's not Jaden Smith's fault.
No, it's not.
Who directed Did Roland Emmerich direct After Earth?
You're going to make me Google this right now?
I think he did direct After Earth. Oh, Roland Emmerich, you menace. Hold on, we gotta see.
Why did I think M. Night Shyamalan for some reason? I was right.
It was M. Night Shyamalan.
Because the twist was that you thought Will Smith was in this.
Oh, yeah, and he wasn't. Oh, no.
That was the Shyamalan twist.
Oh, no.
Old was pretty good, though. But yeah, this is...
You liked Old?
It's okay.
I didn't like Old.
It's not the worst M. Night Shyamalan movie.
Well, that's a fact. That's The Last Airbender.
Yeah, that or I really hated The Village.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
But anyway, back to I Am Legend. Why?
Because money?
But is it money?
I think it's going to play... Is
this a Matrix situation?
I think it's going to play kind of well. I mean...
You think?
That's one of the darkest Will Smith movies that we've gotten, and Will Smith is still...
What does that mean?
It's... I don't know, man. I just think this is gonna... I think people are gonna see this because I Am Legend... I remember when that movie came out, obviously I was younger, but like that movie caught a lot of fire when I as I can remember. Like that was a pretty big like non-super... I mean, this is before the superhero hype, but like non-superhero movie, big blockbuster franchise movie. Like this was something different and everybody was kind of going to see it. It was like, it's weird that I think about it this way, but when I was a kid, it was kind of like the horror movie almost, but it was like the cooler horror movie that wasn't exactly horror, if that makes sense. So it was like, and it was Will Smith on top of that too. So Will Smith was must watch movies back in the day. So
yeah, I guess if I was gonna do a weird Will Smith movie sequel from the 2000s.
Yeah.
I would have done an iRobot sequel.
Oh my god! Well, you just wanted to say the line again. You just wanted to
Goddamn robots, John!
Yeah, you just wanted that again.
It's one of the finest acting moments of Will Smith's career.
Whatever Martin Scorsese said, pure cinema. Yeah.
Acting. Hashtag acting.
Hashtag acting.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I'm not surprised. I mean, this is happening everywhere now.
Yeah.
We're like, man, what was that thing that people were sort of into
Right.
like 20 years ago? Let's bring that back.
Mhm.
So we're doing that with I Am Legend, canonizing the alternate ending, I
I think
guess.
so. Like I said, this is either got to be his son from the. I guess this is his son in the future. Maybe he sees flashbacks of his son. Or of his father. I don't know how this is going to go. I guess it is the alternate ending. Who knows?
Have we ever done that before? Where a sequel to a movie is canonizing an alternate ending over the previous ending? I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Will Smith is trailblazer.
Yeah, he is. Executive producer on Bel Air, and look at him now.
Speaking of trailblazer, Donald Faison is in the Arrowverse.
Yeah, he is. Playing Booster Gold.
We
of all
finally got
people.
Booster Gold.
Yeah, after when did the Arrowverse start? 2012.
Yeah.
Wow, it's really been 10 years of the Arrowverse. Hey, why aren't we celebrating the 10 year of the Arrow? You know what? I'm gonna find the date that Arrow premiered, and we're gonna do an Arrow series review. I'm marking it down now.
I'm ready for that.
Yeah, you've been waiting for that because I'm looking at this Arrow Funko Pop over here. So you've been waiting for that.
I'm always
since
right. I
day
got
one.
2 of them.
How many times Rob would text me just random Arrow quotes or random Arrow videos over the last how many years that I've known this guy?
Yeah.
Last 6 years.
So yeah, Booster Gold has a long and an interesting non-history in the Arrowverse.
Yeah.
Because everyone thought we were going to get him in like the early seasons of Legends of Tomorrow.
Right.
Because of Rip Hunter.
Right.
We never did. And then there was the rumors that they were going to do a Booster Gold and Blue Beetle TV show.
Well, there was also the thing they were supposed to do the Booster Gold and Blue Beetle movie with Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum. Like, that was like the first one because they were like, oh, you guys like 21 Jump Street? What if we just did that but DC?
Yeah.
Didn't work.
Didn't happen.
Then, like you said, we were supposed to get the TV show, and I thought that TV show was gonna take, like, the third cake of being, like, the third biggest show on there.
Yeah. And then, like, nothing. Then Legends of Tomorrow, like, just veered off into madness.
Yep. Absolutely.
So we're like, all right, so I guess they're not gonna do anything with that anymore. And then lo and behold, Donald Faison shows up, and he's Booster Gold now.
Listen, all I have to say about this is one thing. Zach Braff.
Zach Braff is Ted Kord.
Yeah,
just do it.
Because I said this before we hopped on. They've been teasing Ted Kord since episode 1 of Arrow season 1. Like, just have him in the show.
And we're not doing Ted Kord in the Blue Beetle movie because that's going to be Jaime Reyes, which I'm looking forward to.
I think they're going to do Ted Kord in that movie. I think they're going to find a way to snake him in.
Maybe, unless they want to do him for this.
True.
Look, if the Arrowverse is good at one thing, it's good at a couple things. But legacy casting.
True.
Right? They've done something like this before.
You know what's funny enough? Supergirl probably has the best legacy casting amongst all the shows.
That's probably true. But we've seen something like this before. They did Wentworth Miller and Dominic Purcell as Captain Cold and Heatwave, and nothing makes me think they wouldn't do Donald Faison and Zach Braff as Ted Kord and Booster Gold. If Zach Braff wants to do it, I don't know.
Hey, Zach Braff's girlfriend's been hot stuff because she's, if you didn't know, I guess him and Florence Pugh are dating. So he's got to step it back up. Got to get in that superhero realm, man.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm shocked that they introduced Booster Gold 7 seasons into Legends of Tomorrow,
right? And 10 years into the Arrowverse. Look at us.
Yeah, sure, that's fine. I like Donald Faison.
I watched the scene because I'm not caught up on Legends of Tomorrow.
Me either.
I love Legends of Tomorrow because it is the craziest. Like, if you watch season 1, I mean, when I tell you, like, it is a full out 180 from what season 1 is to like season even like 4. It's a completely different show. Yeah, and I like both of them. Both of them are cool.
It knows what it is.
Exactly. It doesn't try to be too cool for its own good. The Flash should take a page out of that book.
Yep. And then the last bit of news we got, which segues quite nicely into our Batman review, is, so remember back when they were going to do Gotham, but on HBO Max, basically? Because remember Jim Gordon had a TV show once, and it was okay, but it wasn't great. And they were like, let's do that again.
Yeah.
And then they're like, no, let's not do that again. So Gotham PD is not happening, and it is since transformed into an Arkham House of Horrors, basically.
And I think it's a very it's a very reactionary thing. I think the movie came out, they waited to see how the movie played, and they said, hey, we really don't need to worry about this. We'll talk about the scene from the movie, but they were probably like, this is much more interesting, and it lends credence just in case if it gets to the future, if one of those Robins are running around, maybe they show up in one of these things, so.
And if you want Jim Gordon to show up in things, put him in the show that the Penguin's going to be in.
Right.
Jim Gordon will be a nice adversary for the Penguin.
Yeah, we got some good scenes in the movie with the two of them. There's one scene in particular that I can't get out of my head.
I don't think we're going to not see more of Jeffrey Wright in these HBO Max shows. I don't think that's what this means.
I think I'm the #1 Jeffrey Wright stan in the world.
I love Jeffrey Wright. I said this to somebody the other day. I said, is it fair to say that Jeffrey Wright is the heir apparent to Morgan Freeman?
Hey man, his voice is intoxicating. That's a top tier voice.
I'm just saying.
Listen, man.
Just gonna throw that out there.
Hey man.
But no, that's cool. I think an Arkham kind of House of Horrors show also fits quite nicely with the tone of that the Batman set. This kind of unsettling, creepy, weird universe.
Yeah, and also what it might help you do if you want to start to get into a little bit more either mystical, or if you want to start to lean into a little bit of the, otherworldly or extraordinary things, this might be a solid place to start. Like, what happens if somebody's, down in the depths of Arkham Asylum and it's a giant crocodile, man? Like, that might not be the worst place to try to do something like that.
Maybe get a Hugo Strange.
Somebody that's experimenting on people as well. Like, that could be kind of interesting.
Hugo Strange, by the way, played quite nicely by B.D. Wong in Gotham.
Yeah, yep.
Love B.D. Wong.
Yeah.
But I guess that's going to pass the baton over to our Batman review, which, if you listened to us last week, we did a kind of half-hour bit on our instant reactions to the Batman, having come off just seeing it. Now we've had a week to marinate, to think. But before we get to our... And, by the way, we are going to go basically full spoilers from the jump, because we did basically do our non-spoiler bit last week, pretty much. But what we didn't do last week is my bread and butter, which is ratings.
Yeah, where's the numbers at?
Ratings and numbers. So we'll do the numbers first.
I just talk about cameras and drama. You talk about numbers.
So domestic box office, 134 million buckaroos. Good.
Yeah.
Better than Warner Brothers expected, which... Warner Brothers, step your game up because it's Batman. I don't know what you guys were expecting.
I think they were probably, the whole DCEU thing was probably their biggest, what if for this, but obviously it played well.
The DCEU is on an upswing. I know people don't want to hear that.
It is. It is.
Between Suicide Squad and Peacemaker, now this.
Hey, man. DC, and for what it's worth, I think that Black Adam movie is also going to play really well with audiences. You have one of the single biggest, if not the single biggest star in the world.
Probably the biggest.
Yeah, and you have this kind of, ragtag team of characters. Everybody loves a ragtag team of characters. And I just think that setting and that aesthetic's kind of cool. And also, Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate might be my favorite casting of all time.
We've been saying this. We've been saying this for probably since the Suicide Squad. We did that review, which was like the third episode of the show. DC, just do your own stuff.
Yeah.
Do your own solo stuff, your own self-contained stuff, and you'll be fine, because all your self-contained stuff is pretty good on the whole. Just keep doing that.
Yeah.
And this is no different. So, obviously, it is the second pandemic-era movie to cross 100 million, obviously behind Spider-Man No Way Home. It finds itself trailing Spider-Man No Way Home in basically every metric, which is not surprising, because Spider-Man No Way Home was a movie that was built to make money.
Yeah, it was culminated over the last 20 years of our lives.
Yeah, so that movie was built to make money. This movie, I mean, the only thing that made it built to make money was that it was Batman. Other than that, it honestly probably had quite an uphill battle to fight that Spider-Man No Way Home didn't really have.
Spider-Man No Way Home basically used your other iterations of the character to your advantage, versus this had to overcome the shadow of those other iterations as well.
Yeah, not to mention Spider-Man No Way Home is built on a foundation of 28 other films and a character we've seen 6 times beforehand.
Right.
So you know, it's not fair to compare those two movies. People who compare those two movies are lame. That's
right. And we're going to talk about comparisons because I want to make a point as well about this whole comparison era that we live in. And I think I told you my big thing that I took away from all of this is somehow we've turned movies into sporting events. I think is something that's happening where the first reaction, is like, well, this needs to be better than this or it's not good. I'm like, whoa.
Been seeing that a lot in the gaming sphere.
Right.
Which I don't quite understand, but we'll talk about that later. So, you know.
New segment alert.
You ready for some aggregation? We love aggregation here. So, Rotten Tomatoes, 86% among critics, 89% among audience, pretty level across the board. People seem to be enjoying this across the board. However, there are people who have not been enjoying this, and I just wanted to rattle off a couple of these because some of them are pretty great. So this comes by this is like the substitute for our email segment. This comes by the way of Mo. The movie made Batman like a loser, and the whole movie, every sentence took an hour to come out. Waste of my money. Do you agree or disagree with that take?
Well, I agree with that. No, I'm kidding. It's a crazy take that every line took an hour to get out.
Hilarious.
Crazy take.
Waste of my time and life. Time and life. Man.
Sorry, man.
I'm sorry. Slow, long, wordy, minimal spectacle and or surprises.
He didn't watch the third... I think he left before the third act happened.
I'm thinking that's what happened here. I'm thinking a lot of these people left.
Right.
Too long and boring. All right. To the point. He shouldn't have played Batman.
Seems personal.
This person didn't have any critique of the movie, just had a critique of their ticket buying process.
But
and Batman caught a half-star stray in the process.
I don't think that's their fault.
That's fun. That's like the person that complains about a store service for not carrying the items that they want, but takes it out on the staff.
Right.
That's not fair to Robert Patterson.
So most of these reviews, his name's Robert Patterson in all of these reviews, which is hilarious.
Terrible dark movie. Biggest waste of 3 hours. I am normally a huge fan of all superhero movies, but this movie was absolutely horrible. All right. They packed 60 minutes of action into 172, and it felt like 344. Quick maths. I
felt like Zach Galifianakis doing like Charlie Day doing the big board, just looking back, trying to figure out the numbers.
Too long, too depressing, and too dark. All right, so I want to stop on that one. That's the last one I want to do because this seems to be... So those were all audience reviews, but among critics, that's the weird criticism of this movie, is that it's too depressing.
Which I don't understand. I didn't know that a guy that parents were killed that turned into a dark creature of the night had to be light.
Well, this goes into like a larger discussion where like I don't know where this has stemmed from, where like people feel like everything has to be for everybody.
I know where it stems from, but people aren't ready to talk about where it stems from. People aren't ready to talk about... I told you, I'm turning into Martin Scorsese. People aren't ready to... As much as I love the MCU, people aren't ready for that conversation yet. They're not ready for it.
But is the MCU for everybody, or do they just trick you into thinking it's for everybody?
They trick you into thinking it's for everybody.
Because those movies have a wild variety of tones.
Exactly, yeah. Not every movie's the same.
I feel like people just think of Iron Man when they think of the MCU, and they're like, well, Iron Man was fun.
Right.
But then they ignore, like, all the really weird ones.
Yeah, remember when John Walker decapitated a guy in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
Yeah.
That wasn't too... Remember when Wanda was, her husband basically died and she lost her kids?
Remember when half the universe got dusted?
Right. Not too fun.
No, not fun at all. One might say a little bit dark.
Yeah, exactly.
Look, nobody gets their head blown off in the MCU like they do in this movie. But...
Wait, is that a fact or can you prove that?
What, that no one gets their head blown off in the MCU?
I want to bet that. You might have to come back next week and bring you the... A guy gets decapitated in Doctor Strange, I'll tell you that much.
True. People explode in Iron Man 3. Mm-hmm. I guess that's quasi-decapitation.
Yeah.
John Walker for sure decapitates that one guy.
Right, yeah. That guy's dead.
Oh, here's a good one. It dropped us in a weird spot for an introductory film and was way too long for what was shown story-wise. And the overall story felt flat, and it was trying too hard to be this dark and edgy Batman instead of just being that. I feel like it should have been rated R. I disagree. And really tried to make an actual gritty and broken Bruce Wayne. Okay. Also, Bruce Wayne has zero dimension in this film. He's literally one tone the entire film. I only saw a depressed Batman and never Bruce Wayne. I can't believe people are saying this is good as The Dark Knight, because that is simply not true. The characters felt so flat. Yeah, Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman is hot and cool and perfect in every way, but I feel like the relationship between the two of them was forced so quickly, it was kind of hard to really care. There was barely any time for them to build chemistry in a 3-hour film. Sir, I'm gonna say this is a 3-hour review. Maybe if they make the next film rated R and actually try to make Batman be this truly broken, dark character, then I would like this series. But so far, I doubt I will watch the follow-up film to this. If you haven't seen it yet, I would just wait for it to come to streaming. Whew. Alright, that was the last one, because that was a lot. For people who complain that the movie's too long, they didn't have a problem voicing that problem.
Right.
Alright, so let's talk about this movie now, because, like I said, we talked about it non-spoiler ad nauseum for about a half hour last week. So if you haven't seen The Batman yet, go see it. Then listen to our first review, and then listen to this.
And then go see it again, and then listen to this.
Yeah.
Go see it twice.
And listen to this twice.
Yeah.
So we already kind of talked about what we think about it, so we both really liked it.
Pretty good movie.
Really good movie, despite what these critics had to say.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Where do you want to kind of start this discussion?
Start right from the beginning. We could start with the beginning of the movie, honestly, and just how it sets the tone. Disagreeing with these critics, how it sets the tone immediately of what this movie is going to be like. I mean,
I love the opening so much.
It's straight up horror movie from the opening. That opening sequence with Riddler, like there were audible gasps when Riddler showed up on screen for the first time because
it's very Halloween,
right?
It's very and there's a lot of kind of horror movie homages.
Right.
I think we'll talk a little bit more about the Batmobile chase sequence, but that's very Christine. That's very Stephen King in that sequence. Right. But yeah, this sets the tone right away, and you're like, oh boy. And you're already tight. You're already tight.
Yeah, I mean, I think you made one of the best points last week that you don't know when something's going to happen, and that's the perfect example of how you use tension in a movie, and it's really well done. I mean, Matt Reeves kind of crafts this kind of, in the narrative itself, he crafts this layer of just this uneasiness whenever Riddler's on the screen. No matter what he's doing, you're always uneasy with yourself, because you don't know when he's going to kind of ramp up his emotion or kind of keep it nice and calm and compact, and I think a lot of that credit goes to Paul Dano and his performance as the Riddler as well.
Yeah, I agree. And then I love the juxtaposition of the Riddler opening sequence with the Batman opening sequence. I love that a lot.
Yeah, they're both on their crusades. They really are, and I think it plays really well. And I mean, we could talk about, if we're going Riddler, we can go right to Robert Pattinson. I mean, it's funny, I was driving home from the theater on the way to, because we do this, man. We're up morning, noon, and night for this podcast, and we were driving right from the theater right to record the non-spoiler review.
Through an ice storm.
Yeah, through an ice storm, so you're welcome. And and I was just saying to myself, I'm like, he really is Batman, and specifically, he really is Batman. He kind of
Robert Pattinson, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, Robert Pattinson. He just understands that kind of. It's funny. I was talking to somebody about this. That kind of, if you were to pick up a Batman comic and just watch Batman interact with the Gotham PD, Jim Gordon, the Justice League, the other members of the Bat family, him in the suit as Batman. Robert Pattinson. I did it. Oh no. Robert Pattinson, he gets that. It's he'll never divulge all of his emotion while he's there. It's just always all cool, calm, collected. I mean, I talked to you about the scene where he was taking the Riddler card from where the bat was staying, and I was like, he probably had to muster up every bit of courage just to reach into a cage with a bat, because that's the thing that kind of, scared him as a child. It's just little things like that I think are really well played.
Yeah, and so that opening sequence, it's being kind of voiced over by him, which is, homage to the comics. And, you get again, it establishes what he's about. He's not about being Bruce Wayne, billionaire, this, that, and the other thing. He just wants to beat people
up. Right, and I want to talk about that real quick in terms of, some of these reviews saying that there was no character arc, and I said, it's funny that, I always see that, and I'm like, do you guys not watch the same movie that we just watched? That's a definitive character arc that from the beginning of this movie, he didn't want to be Bruce Wayne, and he was just supposed to be this vengeful eye over Gotham that would just creep in the shadows and beat any villain to a pulp. By the end of the movie, he was all about, I need to be hope for this. Yeah, that's a character arc.
It's weird, people saying that there wasn't much of an arc. It's almost to a fault explicitly told to us.
Right, yeah.
That he went on an arc.
Right.
Because he does the voiceover at the beginning and he does the voiceover at the end where he's like, I can't be the symbol of vengeance. I have to be a symbol of hope. Like, he's literally telling you what his character arc is.
I thought, when I saw that, I thought people were going to complain that his arc was too told to us and not showing. And I was like, just reading some of and obviously, Rob just read the bad reviews. Like, that's like, most of the reviews are good. So, we were just trying to find some for just some laughs. But
very boring. It was like watching a sad 35-year-old man and an old man build a puzzle together.
Why didn't you read that one? That was I love that one. That's a good review.
That's basically what the movie was. It was a sad, not 35-year-old man, but it was a sad man and an old man building a puzzle together.
Right.
That's accurate.
Yeah, and listen, I guess I'm stupid or something because I thought the Riddler, thought they were all right.
So I had a very low bar for this movie. I said this movie was going to be good, barring over under 2.5 riddles.
I told you to bet the over on the riddles, and you just refused to. And then we got 3 riddles in 2 minutes.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, it was.
Man, I should have said the over under at 5.5 riddles.
You stood up and you started clapping. It was amazing.
That was expert riddling.
Yeah, let's talk about Bruce Wayne for a second specifically. I mean, again, I think he plays that really well in terms of, and I remember the first trailer came out and he took off the cowl and it was kind of the longer hair, and I said, it's spelled out. He doesn't care about being Bruce Wayne. Like, why would he care about having his hair perfect, going to these corporate like he just came back to Gotham. He doesn't care about any of this stuff. None of this stuff matters to him. All he's worried, and there's a really subtle thing that they do well. I love when he takes a shower, he comes back and he goes into the dining room in Wayne Manor and the sun's shining through and he has to put the glasses on because he tells us in the opening monologue, like, I've trained myself to be a creature of the night. Like, I can't even look at the sun. Like, it doesn't look night. I'm like a nocturnal animal, I think he says.
Like a bat.
Yeah, like a bat. It's almost like he played a bat before.
Oh, man. Don't go there.
Sorry, Rob.
Don't bring that back up. That's a dark time in that man's life.
Yeah.
Much like being Batman is a dark time in Bruce Wayne's life.
Or is it his release?
He's having a good time.
I think he has a little bit of fun as Batman.
Yes, he definitely does.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
He enjoys beating people up. Mm-hmm. He enjoys inflicting pain upon people.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Yeah, and if you understand that, like, and this is my whole thing, and I know I talked to you about it, about the Spider-Man arc for the MCU, like, people weren't, especially right after Far From Home, people weren't really happy, like, with what the arc was, and I'm like, it's almost like it takes a little bit to get there, you know what I mean? Like, it's almost like nothing's ever a finished product, and that's what people are. People are never, like, tomorrow everything's finished. That's not how it works. So, if you look at it, like, with that approach, then I think it's really well done. Like, all these actions that he's taking to protect Gotham, like, it's not selfish, but it's kind of like, hey, this is the only way that we're going to do this, so if I have to inflict a little bit of pain and give up being Bruce Wayne, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, and he inflicts heaps of pain.
Jeez, from the opening fight sequence with him.
Which is the trailer scene.
Right, and honestly, more importantly, cool, we have the fight scene, but there's something that this movie does extremely well, and and we talked about it, and I think we hit the nail right on the head. It's the aura of Batman that we talked about, perfectly gets that, because the opening monologue talks about him having his hold over Gotham and saying, like, criminals don't know if I'm just going to walk out of a shadow. Like, they think that I'm everywhere, and I really
love that when he talks about how I can't be everywhere at once, but they think I am.
Right.
Because they never know what alley I'm going to come out of.
Right.
And then there's like a series of like criminals doing crimes, and then they look up the bat signal and they're like, oh God.
And then there's like a dark alley or corner, and they don't know if he's standing there ready
We also don't know where he's going to end up.
And then, boy, does he make an entrance as Batman. And it's like you said, it's the trailer scene, and man, he literally just steps out of a shadow, and then you immediately understand, oh yeah, I don't want to say he was born to play Batman, but I don't know. This is like my favorite, like, Batman, because it's the most Batman that I've ever seen in a movie. Like, we always seen a whole bunch of Bruce Wayne, and then it's like a treat when you get Batman. Like, you get treated for the whole movie because he's in the suit for like the majority of the movie.
Which again is basically the point of the movie.
And it's very comic booky too. Like, that's a very comic booky thing to do, to have him in the suit for a lot of the time that you're there.
Yeah, and the action pretty much all the fights are good.
Oh yeah, they don't shy away from they don't do those quick cuts. They really try to highlight how much he's trained.
Shots
a lot of wide shots,
of the fights.
Right? Especially the iceberg lounge sequence was really well done, and then the opening sequence from the trailer was really well done as well.
Yeah. Where else should we take this?
I mean, let's just run through the characters. I think we talked about Robert Pattinson. We talked about him enough last week, and then we dove in a little bit more. We already, sung the praise of Riddler. I think I said last week that I had one issue with Riddler, and it was more Paul Dano himself, and it's not his fault, but I can feel his other roles. That's my only thing. I can really feel his other roles starting to bleed in a little bit. And like I said, he's such a phenomenal actor where it's difficult, but it sucks because obviously Robert Pattinson's role in this is different from than it was in The King versus what it was in Good Time. It's I can start to it stinks because Paul Dano's so he feels very versatile, but now it feels like he's being typecast almost. He has to play somebody that's insane.
As the creepy maniacal guy.
Right, exactly. So I kind of felt that, especially from the interrogation sequence where he kind of bled back into this is the only reason he was picked for this. And I mean, sure, you do want that to happen.
What I like, we'll jump ahead a bit to the interrogation sequence. Quite a bit to almost the end of the movie. Right. But what I really liked about that sequence, because I did spend a little bit of this movie going, is he Riddler enough? I know that he's riddling about, and he's not. Is he just Mad Bomber? Is he super intelligent, Riddler intelligent, narcissistic intelligent, or is he just Mad Bomber intelligent? But then that interrogation sequence happens, and you get. That's where the Riddler comes out, because the whole thing with the Riddler in the comics is he basically wants to prove his intellectual superiority, and he gets wildly frustrated when he doesn't feel that. And there's that sequence when Batman is this isn't going the way that you want, and Riddler flips out.
He loses it. Yeah, he loses it.
And that's what nailed it for me. I was yep, that's the Riddler. Right. He feels so superior, but then the cracks are shown, and Batman breaks him down mentally.
Yeah, I mean, I want to talk about the detective part a little bit in terms of that too, because I love
Is he the best detective or the worst detective?
He might be the best detective. I don't. All right, we'll get in because
no habla español, fellas.
I thought these reviews said this movie wasn't funny. I thought that was pretty funny, but no, he gets that really. I love how every single riddle he immediately solves every single time. There's no the majority of them. I think there's the one where he can't get right away, but for the most of them, it's immediately solves all of them. I'm the police force, these guys that were trained to go to school to be detectives, could not figure this out, and he's just standing there, figures every single one out, and just shows
not ready for riddles.
Right,
they don't teach riddles at the police academy.
Man, they should. They live in Gotham City. They gotta know better. But it just shows you how smart Bruce Wayne. All these things that they say he's not as Bruce Wayne. Smart is one of them.
And solving the ciphers and stuff. Right, it's those little things.
Yeah, that's comic Bruce Wayne would do.
Whereas you compare that to I guess because people are going to compare it to the Dark Knight anyway. The Bale Batman has a lot of stuff solved for him.
Right.
Lucius Fox is hey, look, Batman, I made this new thing that'll let you do this. And he's great, thank you.
Right.
Or Alfred will tell him a story about some blood diamond guy in overseas, and he's yeah, I understand now. But this guy is figuring things out before everybody else.
Right.
Besides the one thing, which we'll talk about.
Right.
But yeah, I really like the detective stuff. It's stuff that we needed. I said, the only Batman that you get that type of stuff is either from the animated series
or the Arkham series. Yeah,
that's it.
That Arkham series, I think that might be the closest in my opinion, might be the Arkham series to this this just feels like
Batman,
a very early version of that Arkham series Batman, a very you can, and I said, if everybody just slows down for a second and just says life's about being it's an arc. If you look at this as an arc, I guarantee Matt Reeves is. You can tell just go watch an interview. He loves these characters and loves this world. I guarantee you that by 20, I don't know when this is going to end, 2030, we get this third movie in this trilogy. I guarantee you Robert Pattinson's not going to be looking like Kurt Cobain at the end of he's not going to, he's going to look like Bruce Wayne. He's going to act like Bruce Wayne. All that stuff is going to come. And again, at the end of the movie, it was very apparent that he's going to turn into this. And I think another thing that's going to happen, Bruce Wayne's going to have to help Gotham City as well. well. Like,
especially when you consider all the stuff that comes out about Thomas Wayne.
Right, like he's gonna have to try to clear his own name at this point as well, and that garners having Bruce Wayne, in which we'll talk about at the end when we get into like the lore stuff and like the setup, because Gotham's going to need some new positions filled. Specifically, they need a commissioner and a DA after this movie, and I think that's it's really well done by Matt Reeves, like, making sure you set up, like, this felt like the perfect prequel to, like, what this Gotham world we're going to be introduced to. Like, we got our new crime boss, we need a new DA, we need a new commissioner, like, we need a Robin, like, we get all that stuff.
Yeah, it's funny that people like try to say this is too gritty and too grounded and like tries to be too much like the Nolan films. When you talk about all the stuff that you just talked about, you know, the it's setting up so much comic booky stuff.
That's what I'm saying. Like, even down to like some of the lines of dialogue, like, I love like when he walks into a crime scene and like all the police officers are like, "Hey, yo, chief, you're just gonna let like." That's Batman animated series. Like, the Nolan films are the perfect, like, if Batman were to really be a real person. This doesn't feel like that all the time.
There's heaps of comic booky stuff in this.
There's so much comic booky stuff.
That car is indestructible.
It is indestructible, yeah. Like, it's not some tactical vehicle that somebody can, like, maybe practically make, like, the Tumbler. Like, this is legitimately, like,
It's pristine.
Right, exactly.
It's like a car that has a mind of its own. It's terrifying.
Yeah, it is. Oh my god, that thing just didn't break for anything. Like,
no.
I love when Penguin was shooting the window and he just gave him that death stare like, man, son, just don't.
So let's talk more cast. Zoe Kravitz, Selena Kyle.
Electric, in my opinion.
So good.
Yeah.
Had a oohs and ahs plot twist.
Yeah, she did.
Let's talk about it.
Oh yeah, we got a very verbal, like, the whole theater's like, oh wow.
We're like, wait a second.
Yeah, so John Turturro plays Carmine Falcone.
Yeah, we'll talk about these both together. Yeah, because their story goes together.
I think I told you that was like my biggest surprise. I think it's just because I had the Transformers movies in the back of my mind, and like, it's not his fault, but like I've seen the worst of John Turturro, so it's like, this is some of the best of John Turturro that I've seen.
And you could argue that the Transformers is some of the best John Turturro.
Okay, well that's fair.
This is John Turturro doing acting.
Yeah, right. That's just John Turturro being John Turturro. But no, I really enjoyed him in this role. Like, he just gets like that kind of like sleazy older guy that's at these clubs that's like, you know, has something more to do than what's actually being shown to you.
But also he's it's weird. Like, he doesn't have the presence of like a crime boss, but he has like the presence of like Weasley guy who has a bunch of stuff on everybody.
Right.
And that's and it's funny that I say that because that's who they try to make Penguin out to be.
Yep.
But that's not the case.
Right. Penguin's a lot more
crime boss,
yeah. And he divulges, especially by the end of the movie, into full crime boss territory, but yeah, he's getting there.
So let's talk Falcone and Selena Kyle, which is like the B plot. Yeah. This is like the B side of the main plot. You have Batman v Riddler and you have Catwoman v Carmine Falcone. Because
drum roll. He's my father.
No, it can't be true. Search your feelings. You know it to be true.
Man, so we're not joking. Like, when that was said in the theater, like, though, do you want to talk? Do we talk about the theater experience when we done the non-spoiler review? So, our theater experience was really cool. So, like we said, we went to that early.
Everyone was locked in.
Yeah, everybody was. Every seat in the house was full. People were wearing Batman masks. They were wearing like the merch from the movie. Like, this is like 3 days before the movie came out officially. Like,
but everyone was locked in.
Yeah,
there wasn't the hooting and the hollering and the clapping that you would see from a Marvel film or a Star Wars film. This was people were locked in.
Yeah, this was a film. This was like, those are movies. Like, this is a film.
But the one moment that really did elicit a reaction was that. Right. And I think that was for a couple of reasons. One, because it is like a legitimately shocking kind of twist.
That was kind of shocking. I was like,
and also because people were like, whoa.
Yeah. That's different from source material. So it's like, yeah.
People were like, wait a second.
Yeah.
But then people were okay with it because it was a pretty compelling story.
Yeah, it was because, she needs her she went on the revenge plot. And I mean, that's going to the bigger questions of the whole vengeance thing, which will play into the third act as well.
There's three characters basically out for vengeance.
Right.
There's Riddler, who goes about it his way, Catwoman, who goes about it her way, and Batman, who goes about it his way. And the moral argument you know, especially when it comes to Catwoman and Batman, is she's like, why is your way better than my way? Because you don't kill people. Like, it's the Batman thing. Like, you have this weird moral code that somehow makes your way better.
Right.
And he's like, well, no, but, you know, we don't do that.
Yeah, because you can't come back from it. Like, look what happened to me after my parents were killed. Like, I can't come back from this ever again. Like, look how far it's taken me. Like, if you take a life, like, look what's gonna happen to you. Like, you're no better than Joe Chill. You're no better than than your father, basically, if you kill him.
But then, ... again, plot twists on plot twists. So Thomas Wayne wasn't killed by some random mugger guy. He was killed by
Maroni.
Yeah.
Supposedly. Because the whole thing is like, and it's really smart in the way it does it, because it's not like definitively telling you that Maroni, because I think if they said that, like, that was this universe's example, I think people would have been like, oh my god, like, you're taking away the comic Joe Chill, that it's like he was gunned down in a street for no reason. So Alfred like specifically says, like, or it could have just been a guy just looking for cash in the street. Like, they just make sure they say it to kind of, you know, not definitively pick one.
But it makes it feel like that it was a little more deliberate, because of the type of Thomas Wayne that is being built in this universe.
You want to talk about acting with your eyes? Like, that scene where he takes off the cowl and he's looking at basically his entire life being as if his life wasn't turned upside down already. Like, just this, because, you know, you have this perfect perception of your parents, and look what happened to it as soon as he found this out.
So the Riddler pretty much blows up the Wayne family spot, basically.
Like, Bruce Wayne is like, that's like the final piece of this whole puzzle, are the Waynes, like, because it starts off with the mayor, and then it divulges into the commissioner, you get the DA, and then you get the Waynes are like the big one, like, because how close they are to each other, because we find out that the Riddler in this universe was also an orphan around the same time that Bruce was orphaned, but it's really good acting by Paul Dano, because it's like a little bit more subtle, the line he gives. He's like, we got all the bad kids, the ones that you're seeing run around these streets of Gotham, committing crimes, and we didn't get Bruce Wayne. Like, look at the difference between, and I love the way they craft that scene too, because it's like, he keeps saying Bruce Wayne, and he keeps looking at the camera like, oh, they're about to find out who I am now.
Another good bit for the tension piece is like, you're like, does he know? Yeah. Did he figure this out?
Because he keeps saying it, and it's almost like, I think it's really well done by Robert Pattinson as well. You notice how he doesn't look at him when he says it. It's like, it's almost like he's embarrassed of Bruce Wayne. Like, it's usually the other way around. Like, this persona that I'm putting on the Batman, it's like, I'm embarrassed of the persona of Bruce Wayne. Like, that I can't even look at myself.
He's realizing, like, as psychotic as the Riddler is, like, his family has either inadvertently or purposefully, in one case, hurt people, you know, and that makes him reconcile with a lot. That's part of the reason why we get to where we get to at the end of the movie, because he knows he needs to reconcile for the sins of the father. Like, that's a very prevalent story in this movie, is the sins of the father. Right.
And that's what dictates Catwoman's arc, and it's what dictates Batman's arc as well, towards the second half of the movie. But yeah, so in terms of lore and setup, I mean, the reporter that kind of found all this out was a more subtle crowd pleaser, but I heard some whispers when that came up. So, what was it? It was
like Edward Elliot.
Yeah, Edward Elliot. And if you know Batman comics, one of the most famous Batman comics, Batman Hush, Thomas Elliot is Hush in this. So I think that was because I got from this, there's 3 storylines that are being set up. I think we're gonna get the Court of Owls. I think is very apparent that that's something that probably will happen. I think just because this whole movie was about, you know, uncovering, like, the lies of Gotham. Like, if you thought Carmine Falcone was, like, you know, like, there's the line, like, we're like, Falcone's not working for us, we're working for Falcone. Like,
yeah, spoiler alert, by the way, Falcone gets his head blown off.
Yeah. He doesn't. He just gets shot in the chest.
Whatever.
Yeah. Same
Sounds
thing.
better.
He bought him into the light. Oh, I love that part where he's just like, we're a team. Like, you bought. He said, I couldn't get him. Like, and he says, like, the thing you made the point about, like, he tells him, like, my strength isn't physical. My strength is in my brain. Like, I needed your brute. Like, I needed you to get him out. Like, look at us.
Look at us.
The Paul Rudd, yeah.
Who'd have thought?
Who would have thought? Look at us.
Batman's like, no,
you're a psychopath.
And he's like, oh, don't say that word.
Yeah, he loses it. It's like the whole Hancock thing again.
But yeah, it's weird now that we're, like, kind of rolling through the cast. Like, but it's weird how they pair off. So you have Riddler and Batman, you have Catwoman and Falcone, and then you have Gordon and Penguin.
Yeah.
Which are kind of like, they're kind of paired off.
Yeah, Colin Farrell just absolutely killed this. Absolutely unrecognizable as Penguin. Voice, everything that it comes down to. You don't know it's him. And man, he gets that like sleazy, like the sleaziness and like the disgusting nature of like what they do in that club. It just, he gets all of that. Like he just like you said, like this movie is not as like, I know it's like really grounded and stuff, but like this whole like there's a lot of realism too, but like the full 100% realism, absolutely not. No.
Yeah, no.
He's got twins that work the front door that just get beat up to a pulp and show up in the next scene after. Like, no, like, stop. This is.
And then you have Jeffrey Wright, Jim Gordon.
Oh my god.
As I said last week in the non-spoiler review, the best on-screen Batman-Gordon dynamic.
They just bounce.
This side of Batman the Animated Series.
Yeah, they bounce so well off of each other, and they're really partners. Like, and it's like that goes back to more of like understanding how Jim Gordon operates is really a year one thing to kind of do it. Just how to operate in Gotham, and he even throws away the line like, do you trust him? Like, and Gordon tells Batman like, I trust you because you're not one of these like suits that are being pumped into the system. Like, you're a guy that just took matters into his own hands. It's just like, I want to protect the city. This is how we're going to do it.
Conversely, Batman trusts Gordon because he believes him to be basically the only non-corrupt cop.
Right.
But then, Gordon at the end of the day turns around and shows that there are more cops like him in Gotham. And that's the foundation for which he presumably will build the Gotham PD, around.
Right.
In the vein of Batman. Like, we're all going to be on the level here.
You think that when the commissioner died, Gordon was like sad, but he's like, well...
Guess I'm getting a promotion.
Yeah, I guess I'm getting a promotion. Oh, darn. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we also need a new DA because the DA got his head blown off. Let's talk about that scene real quick. Again, just Batman walking out of shadows. So it rolls from the funeral scene that we've seen that was officially released into that scene. So that 2-bit section kind of weaved into one. Really, really good. So the funeral scene. Bruce Wayne says, I'm sorry, when somebody walks behind him, which turns out to be the new mayor, Bella Real. But those are the only words he says in the whole scene. It's like a 3-minute scene. That's all he says. And, some of the better acting of the year, in my opinion. He gets that presence of Bruce Wayne. Like, that's the most Bruce Wayne you've seen in the movie. Like, just like, this...
At least out in the public.
Right.
You see him with Alfred a handful of times.
Right, yeah.
We'll talk about Alfred, too.
Yeah. But yeah, he just... bouncing off of different people, around, like, driving, like, the cool car, being the young billionaire. And the city understands, too, because obviously, like, the whole Thomas Wayne, because Thomas Wayne was the mayor and then his son. And then, obviously, Falcone talking to him, too. Like, he said the only person, you're careful, boys, you're touching the Prince of Gotham. Like, this really is, like, the heir apparent to this whole city. Like, that's like, being the heir apparent to, like, New York City, like, the biggest city, like, the most famous city in the world. Like, it's the guy that's there. So, no, he got to, like I said, I want to see him, like, in 3 years from now, 4 years from now, whenever this next movie comes out, like, what that Bruce Wayne's going to look, because it's going to be a lot more complete. And, like, just watching Tenet and watching different movies with him, like, he's got that look. I don't care what anybody says. He really's got that Bruce Wayne look to him. Like, that, like...
We're going to see it.
That smug, like... I'm better than everybody else in the room. Like,
it's going to be real fascinating to see him switch that on and off.
Yeah.
Built on the foundations of how this Batman is.
Yeah.
Versus what his Bruce Wayne can grow to be is really interesting prospects. But going back to that scene with the DA, talk about the tension piece.
Oh my gosh.
Dude.
So Riddler's whole mission was kind of like to uncover the corruption in Gotham City. So obviously the funeral scene, Coulson drives his car right into the funeral for the mayor, obviously by the Riddler's behest, but drops out of the car. They do the little RC car rolls up to him, and then freaking Batman walks out of the shadows, and everybody's like, how did he get in there? Like,
very Batman.
Yeah, very Batman.
Very comic book.
Again, very comic, like, just walking out of shadows, just showing up places. So, yeah, drops out, walks right up, and that's the thing, too, like, no fear. Like, and that's just, like, he even says in the movies, like, I thought I mastered that fear. Like, it's not that the fact that he has no fear, it's like he's mastered all that fear. So, like, a bomb can literally go off in his face. Spoiler alert, which it does. But yeah, it just no fear, like, Coulson gets basically 3 riddles in 2 minutes. He turns into a Saturday night game show.
Riddle me this.
Riddle me this. So, yeah, man, that was so tense. It was like, because you don't know if that bomb's going off, because obviously it's either the hero saves the day or like it's tragedy. And I mean, man, did we get a little bit of tragedy right there. But
yeah, and it's, it also goes to show how powerful Falcone and company are, because the guy basically goes, I'd rather have my head blown off right here than say all the things I've seen and done. Yeah. And Batman's like, look, just say with me, Chief.
Right, like, just tell me what you did, and it's because they were 2 riddles down and they had one more, and it was simple. He just said, tell me what's going on. Like, tell me what happened.
Tell me what you did.
Yeah. And he's like, nope.
Kaboom.
Yep, absolutely not.
Man of conviction.
Yep. And then that scene also, this movie's really well paced and really well put together too.
It's too long. Just kidding.
Yeah, I was going to say, because I think these scenes are really well stitched, because so Batman basically gets a bomb blown up in his face, gets knocked out because he is human, and then he wakes up in GCPD, which also divulges into a pretty cool scene where he just wakes up and, it's him basically against the entire GCPD, because they say, hey, you just interfered with an active investigation, like, we're gonna basically bring you down, like, but I also love the pensive nature of all the cops, because none of them are like, the one guy tries to take the cowl off, but none of them immediately are throwing punches at him, because you're not gonna win that, you will not win that fight, you won't.
Yeah.
This Batman's well equipped too. Like, everything's very like, first like Mark 1.
He's basically got like 2 things.
Yeah.
He's got the grappling hook and he's got the electric gauntlets.
He's got the smoke. No, he's got the smoke bomb. He's got the
smoke.
He's got the adrenaline. Like, he's got some stuff in the arsenal.
The adrenaline doesn't really count.
That was a cool moment, though. That was really cool. I thought. I thought that. I've seen some people complain. I thought that was cool.
The adrenaline doesn't really count. That's not a gadget.
Man.
We're gonna get more gadgets, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, though, like I talked about...
We'll get a battering at
right,
some point.
Like, that's what I talked about with the whole non-spoiler review. Like, this whole movie screams evolution, like the evolution of Gotham, the evolution of all these characters.
But not evolution in a way that it feels cheap.
Right, like, this is like, everything's gonna feel... like I said, once this third movie in this trilogy, like, I guarantee you we're gonna get, like, a full-fledged Robin. Like, we're gonna get a Robin with this Batman. Like, we're gonna get everything. Like, everything's gonna be, like... as if you were just to open a page of like a modern day Batman that's not an origin story, what it would look like.
You want to talk cars real quick?
Yeah. So Fast and Furious was, no, I'm kidding. Going back to the week 1 gag.
Yeah. That Batmobile sequence is so good.
I told you my favorite part is where everything was kind of, starting, and he does that little, like that little jolt, like that just revs the engine once, just kind of hits him with the pump fake real quick, and then Penguin's like, I gotta go. I'll see you guys later.
It's so well done. Again, it evokes serious Stephen King imagery.
Dude.
Like, it almost feels like the car has a life of its own.
He's a legitimate predator in that case. Like, he's the predator of Gotham City. Like, he's bouncing off cars, like I mean, point blank shooting a window.
But it's not like a Tumblr-esque tank-looking thing. It looks like a muscle car.
Right. It is a muscle car. Like, that thing just rips through anything. Like, he was just running into concrete, just breaking the concrete. Like, it just screams like this Bruce Wayne knows how to make stuff. Like I mean, I keep going back to it with this.
But also, this Bruce Wayne's a bit of a lunatic.
No, that's the whole thing. Like,
right.
But I think it's a perfect balance, because like he never does anything to show you that like that crazy side to him, but like you can feel it in his nature. Like, I mean, if you watched your parents be gunned down and your immediate reaction was like, well, I'm gonna go overseas and start training, like that's probably how somebody would act on the inside. Like, they'd feel that nature, but on the outside they'd probably try to be as cool, calm, collected as they can be.
Not this guy.
Yeah, that's just the little screams he does to him. Like, he's like grinding his teeth, like when he's chasing him. Like, he wants to do this. Like I said, I think he does a little bit of fun when he's being Batman. I think he enjoys it a little too much.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's all part of it. That's all part of the arc.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it all goes into that. What else we got to hit in this movie? It's a lot of movie.
Yeah, it is a lot of movie. So the Iceberg Lounge is pretty cool.
Yep, good sequence in the Iceberg Lounge.
Yeah, I told you, it's one of my favorite subtle moments in the movie where the twins are... And again, this movie is a little ridiculous. This movie isn't like... As if he were to to drop down today. Like, there's twins that guard the door of the Iceberg Lounge, and like one twin walks out, and then the other twin walks out when it happens. And then it's perfect because the Batman walks up to the door, and he goes... I want to see the Penguin. And then the one twin says, there's no Penguin here. And then the both of them open the door, and they tell him, like, you better go away before we get some blood on that suit. And then he just subtly says, mine or yours. And then he beats the crap out of them, and just... I also said the way he walks is perfect. Like, his walk demands your look, and like demands like fake, like just coalesces.
And the twins
with
at the
fear.
door thing becomes like a running gag because they open the door, they get beat up for Batman, and then Bruce Wayne goes to the Iceberg Lounge later, and it's the same two guys working the door.
Right.
And then the third time Batman goes there, knocks on the door, but they open the door and there's nobody there.
And he just sneaks in as the Prowler Bruce Wayne, I'll call him.
Yeah.
Like the hat and glasses, the hat and mask Bruce Wayne.
Yeah. So I enjoyed that running joke. So let's talk about Alfred real quick. Andy Serkis, good.
Yeah.
Good. As like the moral compass, kind of trying to ground young Bruce.
More physically involved, if that makes sense, because all the other Alfreds seemingly were more, emotionally invested, which this Alfred, I mean, honestly, this Alfred might be one of the most emotionally invested because of the tragedy that happened to the Waynes. And
Alfred knowing everything, all the kind of chicanery that went on with the Wayne family.
Right. But I mean, this
and
Alfred,
the Arkham family.
Right. But this movie, Alfred himself really feels like Earth 1 Alfred, I talked about last week. Like, an Alfred, down to, him having the cane. Like, this Alfred feels like, he's trained Bruce himself. Like, I think there was some prequel novel. I think they talked about Alfred himself training him.
Knows some things. Solves the cipher.
Yeah, solves he said, when I used to work for British intelligence, so, I used to have to do stuff like this.
Reminds me a lot of the Gotham Alfred.
Yeah, right. That, specifically was training Bruce in the early days. So.
Yeah. So Andy Serkis, very good. And then we get kind of everything wraps up. We get a big and again, this is why this movie I say is comic booky. The Riddler's whole plan is insanity.
Can we talk about maybe the greatest modern villain that's the most accurate to 2022?
Oh boy.
It's been the craze. People have been doing that, the Riddler to Batman and then the Riddler to his followers. So basically there's a part in the movie where the Riddler turns into an influencer. He's all the menace of Paul Dano just gets stripped away, and he's like, hey guys. He said,
hey guys, hey y'all.
Yeah, hey y'all.
It's your boy.
Yeah, he does. He's like, hey y'all, welcome, thanks for my 500 followers.
It's your boy, the Riddler.
Yeah, basically what Rob says when we log off basically is what the Riddler did. Make sure to comment, subscribe. He said, thanks for the tips on detonators. I said, this guy's a maniac. But I mean, that's a really you think about the Arkham series, how everybody has goons? What a perfect way to get goons. That's a smart way to do it. How else are you supposed, that's a comic booky way to get goons of a modern take on how to get goons. Use the internet. Yeah, because some people are probably gonna go do the thing that shouldn't be done. So
the Riddler's big plan is to blow the dams, blow the walls, the levees off of Gotham and flood the city, and then corral everyone into where the mayor is speaking.
Yeah, I think that's really cool too, because...
And then just shoot a bunch of people.
Right, yeah. I think that's cool because what it does, it's immediately a not 100% win, because most comic book movies we see are very, definitive win. You know what I mean? Obviously you're gonna get, a loss here and there, but it's it's a win. This was a pretty big no-win, but it's more about, for Batman, especially this early in his career, it's not just, again, it's the whole vengeance thing. It's not me creeping in a shadow and beating up a guy that's robbing a grocery store. People need, he says, I need to be now I see, I can't just be a guy that just wants revenge. I need to be a beacon of hope for the city. That's what's really going to change everything. So, that's why I the dams are blown, but there's still some hope. There's a little bit of hope that's left.
And a little bit of fear. The fear creeps in on old Batman.
Yeah.
When Catwoman's about to be killed.
Right.
And that's when he uses the adrenalin.
Oh my god,
so good. So it's not even his back against the wall.
So I mean, let's go into story structure real quick. So this movie, I think I said it. This movie's split into 4 acts. I think I'm gonna say that this movie's split into the beginning until about when the riddle start, right where we hit the Iceberg Lounge and the Annika stuff starts, right where he meets Catwoman. That's the first part, and then the Catwoman arc basically, and then you have the Falcone. There's two endings almost. There's the crime boss ending, and then there's the rogue ending. So it's like kind of like how Spider-Man comics are usually split that way, or Batman comics are split that way. This is how I think it went. So the Carmine Falcone ending, obviously we said he gets killed by the Riddler.
Catwoman's not too beat up about it.
No, she's like, sorry, Dad. Sorry, Pops.
I was gonna do that.
It's all right. But again, he saves her from killing her own father because, again, it's the whole vengeance. Like, this isn't going to play well. Like, you're going to turn into this dark creature if you do this. It's not worth it. I'm not going to lie, then we get the comic booky ending. We get the big third act fight in this. And boy.
Because everyone wants to talk about how the Dark Knight's so massively crafted, but comic book ending, man, with the two ships and the criminals on the one ship and the detonator, and it's all ridiculous. And this plan is equally as ridiculous as the Joker's plan in the Dark Knight.
I will say, I told you this, when he drops down, because it's like, it gets real, like, grim for a second because there's gunshots going off, the mayor's shot, Gordon's dragging her off stage, the whole dam is, like, just caving in on the fake Madison Square Garden, and then Batman blows the scaffolding on the top of the building and just drops down and just starts wrecking shop on all these guys. And it's just, Michael Giacchino's score is just masterful. What would everyone in the review say? It was too repetitive?
Yeah.
Nah, cool. I thought it was great.
It's really good.
Because they mix it in different ways in different sections of the movie, too. Like, that's why it's not repetitive to me. Like, it's just a simple chord. That's why people think... Did people take critical theory classes? And hold on. That's a bigger issue.
Yeah, so Batman beats up a bunch of QAnon supporters. Mm-hmm. That's the end of this movie.
Yep. Yeah.
And and then he has his like epiphany moment when it's weird, in hindsight, you get the end of the movie in the trailer.
Mm-hmm. You do. So basically what happens is, everything's happening in the wrecking shop. There's the score's so good, but even the funny moment I thought, like, where she saw the ladder, I'm like, that's very Joel Schumacher for her to just see the ladder and be like, oh, great, a ladder so I can get into the action. So basically her, Gordon, and Batman are up there, trying to solve this thing, trying to beat these guys up and trying to contain them a little bit. And then they have, their relationship moment, and then a guy just comes out of nowhere, tackles her, and basically what happened before is Bruce, like, he fell, and, like, I guess he definitely, like, had to break
a shotgun shell, like, at point blank range.
Right, to his shoulder, so basically his arm was broken, so he literally couldn't move for a second, and then, so you want to talk about that theory for a second? That's Venom that he injected himself with?
Yeah.
I'm not buying it.
Not buying it.
I just think it was just an adrenaline shot. I think even Matt Reeves said it was just an adrenaline shot he got hit with.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think, but again, just showing you like the range of Robert Pattinson, like he hits himself with that adrenaline shot and it's just that little scream that he does. He's a vicious like animal. Like that's what it divulges into.
And then Catwoman stops him from killing a guy.
Hey man, I think it's Gordon that stopped him from killing the guy. I'm dying on that hill that it was Gordon. I like Gordon and him and being in a relationship more than Catwoman. give me that arc.
Gordon's like, hey man.
He calls him man all the time in this movie, and
he's very chill.
It's so wholesome.
It's a very chill Jim Gordon.
I love it. Good. Like this Gordon's seen some stuff, but not on this scale. So he doesn't know how to. He's just got a new friend. I think that's the best part.
No guns.
Yeah, no guns.
That's your thing, man.
That's your thing, man.
Yeah, and then so the Riddler's plan is somewhat foiled. Not all the way foiled, but foiled enough that he's upset about it.
Yeah, he's watching from Arkham Asylum.
Yeah.
And then we hear some laughter.
Yeah.
And it's Arkham Asylum, so I guess we can put two and two together. Whenever there's laughter in Arkham Asylum, it's probably the Joker.
And a guy just spouting whimsical nonsense.
Talks about being a clown. He's smiling the whole time. He's got crazy hair. Yeah.
Played by Barry Keoghan.
Barry Keoghan, man, he's on fire. You
don't cast a guy like that in an anonymous role unless he's a big deal.
Right.
And this is the Joker.
Yeah, if you want some good Barry Keoghan stuff, go watch Killing of the Sacred Deer, which also had Colin Farrell in it. So,
Nice.
Keep it contained.
So the Joker's like, so what? Your plan got foiled. Happens all the time.
Yeah, he said, what's the riddle you gave him? What's more valuable the less you have of it? And then the riddle was like, friends. And I'm like, you can't tell me this movie's not comic booky. That's a comic booky thing. When was the Nolan trilogy doing that? Never. Exactly.
I guess the pencil gag.
Yeah.
Man, imagine if the Riddler was like, wait a second. If you're giving me riddles...
Maybe I'm the monster.
maybe I'm not the Riddler.
And I've been laughing this whole time. Maybe I'm the Joker. Maybe you're the Riddler.
Oh man. So yeah, Barry Keoghan's presumably the Joker.
Right. And Matt Reeves kind of talked about this whole thing. So he said this version of the Joker is very early stage. Batman already bought him into Gotham, and there was 2 scenes he shot. The more important scene was the scene where basically this Joker was almost like giving him insight, which I think is kind of cool, like almost giving him like a little bit of like quick wisdom, because I think the whole thing is like Batman doesn't think twice about him yet until I think something really bad's gonna happen. And then
you think?
Yeah, right. I think they're gonna, because what did I say they were gonna
friends.
Do? Nope. You think this is the Dark Knight's Metal where they beat up Barbados at the end? Absolutely not. But yeah.
Oh man, imagine that's the Pattinson arc as he becomes the Batman who laughs.
No, I want this whole. You know what? If we're gonna do this, like, might as well go big or go home. Do Dark Knight's Metal. Get you your own Justice League, Matt Reeves. Do the craziest stuff you can do.
But yeah. So anyway, back to Joker and what's going on here.
Right. So yeah, he's so this Joker has a birth defect where he can only smile. That's the only facial emotion
Second Joker we've gotten in the last couple of years that has a problem.
What's your problem, man? Is that not okay? Sorry that people aren't born perfect.
But why do they always have to be criminals?
Because the world's tough.
Why can't he be a good Joker? Guy Joker.
There is no... I guess there is... The comics are stupid. I always say that. Comics are...
There is a good Joker.
There is a good Joker, yeah.
And a bad Batman.
Right.
Cool.
Gotta love Earth 3. Crime Syndicate. Y'all are real clever with that one. But yeah, so he has a birth defect that only makes him smile. He's like low level. At this point, he's very low level. He's just somebody that Batman bought in within the first 2 years. So I think we're gonna... this whole thing just screams that we're gonna get into the killing... I think that's what's gonna happen. We're gonna... Either the killing Joker or the death of the family. I think what might play what better is the death of the family might play better, because honestly, we haven't seen a I mean, I'm not counting Blake from the Dark Knight Rises. Like, we haven't seen a Robin since the 90s. Like, this is probably the best opportunity to get a Robin.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, while we're on the Robin note, you got any people you want to play Robin? I got 2.
I guess it depends what Robin we're going with.
We're going with Dick Grayson. We're starting.
So we need like a
tip
kid.
Top. And yeah, because again, I want to see like a child, because I don't know who played Robin in the 90s. I don't know.
Chris O'Donnell?
Yeah, I don't know who Chris O'Donnell was trying to fool. Went to the Riverdale School of being 35 when you're playing a high schooler.
Yeah, Chris O'Donnell was a bit old.
But he was old in the movie itself too, right? Wasn't he already?
Well, he was Tim Drake. He was Tim Drake Robin, I believe.
No, that was Dick Grayson.
Was he?
Yeah, that was 100% Dick Grayson. Remember
he looked like Tim Drake.
Remember they throw out the line in that movie about him being,
Oh man,
yeah,
you might be right.
Yeah, Clooney gives him the line where he enunciates his first name to prove a point.
What a move! What a film!
Yeah, we were trying to rank these movies, but Batman and Robin just kept sneaking right into the top spot. It's tough. Bat credit card, never leave the K without it.
So, Robin, Dick Grayson. So we need like a kid.
Yeah,
because we need someone who's going to be like Robin, proper.
Right, somebody that's...
Because I know a lot of people are like Nightwing, and I'm like, whoa.
Right, yeah, like, can we get a Robin first? Like, again, the arc thing, like, I think this Batman, depending on how Robert Pattinson, like, likes this, which I think he's having some fun, man, like, because he was so universally hated before, but now I think the pendulums have switched, and, like, he's now universally liked.
Yeah.
So, I mean, 5 from Umbrella Academy is probably my number 1 choice. He's so mad all the time. So I think that might play really well into somebody that also just lost their parents, and like Bruce seeing the same thing kind of happening to them, but also kind of having that kind of like smug like kid of like, again, like, I just became instantly rich from, doing nothing. So like, I'm going to have a little bit of fun with this. I think that would be a good one.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that for sure. It's just hard. It's just hard to do, that whole thing. Like, you got a lot to do in these this next movie.
Yeah, we have, I mean, like I said, I think the easiest, the three main things you have to, or I guess 4 things you have to do. You got to round out Gotham a little bit more now, because now you got basically the T, you put the baseball in the T, now you just have to hit it now. So you have to round out Gotham. I think we get the introduction of Robin, and I think it's going to be prominent. Like, I think this is going to be a pretty big storyline in the movie. Like, that Robin's going to be in this movie. You need to kind of propel the Bruce Wayne arc, and you also need to propel him. It's like his evolution is like Batman itself too. Like, I think those are the 4 most important things.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. So Batman and Catwoman kind of see each other off at the end of this movie.
They like each other.
They like each other a lot.
Yeah, they do. Don't tell me he's not funny. She says, "Are you horribly disfigured under that mask?" He's like, "Yeah." Like, he's absolutely hilarious as Batman. I don't care.
So they do the Batman Catwoman thing, and they're like, we're fond of each other, but our lives are so complicated.
Yeah, the bat signal goes off, and she's like, trying to come to Bloodhaven with me because I just said a comic book name, and he's just like, and then the bat signal goes off. She's just like, I can see you're already spoken for, and I'm like, yeah,
I'm married to the streets.
I'm married to. Oh man, you beat me to it. Beat me by whatever Tony Stark. You beat me by 1 second, man. But yeah, he is married. He's married to those flooded streets of Gotham right now.
Yeah, and presumably wants to do some more Bruce Wayne stuff.
Right, yeah. I think, like I said, what's more important for the city at this point, because obviously Gotham, like I said, this wasn't a definitive win.
He's got to open the checkbook.
Yeah, he's got to open that checkbook up, and he's got to build his reputation, because his father's not so good.
Yeah, father's kind of a...
His mother's a loon.
Was?
Oh, sorry. Forgot. And his father's a criminal.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yep. And Hush is on the way. So we can talk future for a little bit.
Sure.
Hush is... Yeah.
Yeah, we're doing Hush.
What I think is going to happen, because the reporter was killed, I guarantee you the reporter's son's going to be like, "Hey, Bruce, remember your dad killed my dad? Let's duke it out in the 3rd movie of this trilogy.
Put your dukes up."
Yeah, put your dukes up, man.
Yeah, so we're definitely getting Hush. We're presumably going to get Harvey Dent at some point.
Yeah, because obviously the DA's head was blown off, so let's get a DA with a half a head. So we need Harvey Dent.
Ah.
Yeah,
so
you didn't think I was throwing my riddles out there. Look at us.
So we're going to get, the Riddler may come back at some point?
Yeah, again, this is comic booky. Like, we're not just killing our villains or just, having them be put away like would happen in real life. Like, they're going to come back and kind of team up. I need him to wear the suit, though. I need him to find a green suit.
Give it to me.
Yeah,
Just give it to me
once. I need a green suit.
So we're getting that. We're probably getting the Joker down the road. Mm-hmm. We may be getting a Mr. Freeze. Matt Reeves, I know, is quite fond of the Mr. Freeze character.
Right, because the whole promotion, I know a bunch of people have talking about, like, how the promotion would run. Like, the promotion for this one was, like, red was, like, a big thing of this. Like, it's kind of like the Black Widow line, like, red in my ledger, like, everything that's happened. But, like, imagine, like, a Winter-esque Gotham at this point. I think that would be really cool if, like, and, like, you can dive into Arkham a little bit that more way and get even more comic booky. But again, if you were to trust somebody with, like, balancing the comic booky nature with, like, real tone and, like, real darkness, it's Matt Reeves. I mean, he's proven he's done it. He proved it on this movie. I mean, I think Mr. Freeze would be like a wonderful villain to have in a movie, like in a sequel to it, because
compelling, tragic backstory. Mm-hmm. He checks all the boxes.
Yeah, he does. Like, it's gonna be something where it's like it's not so easy just to kill this man. Like, he really is trying to save it. That's it. He's really just trying to, just like you're doing this whole crusade to try to avenge your parents. Like, he's doing this to try to save his wife. That's it.
It's just exciting that we have a Batman story that has so many different avenues that it could go. You know what I mean? Like, Batman Begins quite clearly set up the Joker. And then, Heath Ledger's passing, unfortunately, kind of derailed a little bit what the Nolan trilogy could have become, and then it led to Bane and yada yada. But we've never had Batman do this before, like in film, where, like, there's so many different avenues this could go.
Yeah.
You could have a Harvey Dent in the next movie, and then he's just Harvey Dent.
Right, for a little bit. Like, this universe, like, this movie...
This is a universe where Gotham can feel lived in.
Right, yeah. And
where it's not just like, this person's here all of a sudden.
Right, like, there's people that, like, live in this, like... Imagine, like, Harvey Dent's just the assistant DA at this point in the movie, and we just don't see him, and, like, just pulls up to the courtroom in the next movie and just like, yeah, I'm the DA now. I got his spot.
And you do the Leonardo DiCaprio thing.
Mm-hmm.
Whoop.
Maybe have Leonardo DiCaprio play Harvey Dent. That would be cool.
Ooh,
that would be cool.
That'd be fun.
Let him go nuts for it. You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts.
Yeah. So, all in all, really good movie.
Yeah, man. I really enjoyed it. It's just, this movie is a perfect example of, like, movies staying with, like, that's what real good films, they stay with you for, like, you think about them after the fact.
Like Venom.
So you think about good movies after the fact, and I didn't really think about Venom that much after. I only thought about the father joke. Because it was, I'll give you that one. That one did get a chuckle out of me in the theater. Not you, father. You, father. Yeah, I'll give you that one.
That's good.
But yeah, man, this is a really, like I said, this is just, and it's funny, like, I was just running through a whole bunch of Batman comics that I had. Like, I had the Grant Morrison run, I had the Court of Owls, which, I mean, that's something that even I could tell Paul Dano reads comics, because he was just, as soon as Robert Pattinson said, like, what if we do Court of Owls, like, Paul Dano's face just lit up when that was the case, like. But I think this whole thing, because if you look at Hush, I mean, Hush might be the most famous Batman comic, like, Hush is, like, more or less.
Yeah.
But,
it's one of.
Yeah.
It's on the Pantheon.
It is on the Pantheon, but, like, Hush, like, the first couple panels of Hush, you're just running through every villain of Gotham City at that point, and, like, you can feel that, like, the Hush, it just feels too easy for them not to do it. And we haven't seen Thomas Elliott before, too, in live action, so, because that came out in the early 90s, mid-90s, Hush came out in, something like that, so I think that would really play well.
Yeah, I agree. Well, if you thought this is the end of Batman, it's not. Because we're getting two more Batmans.
Yeah.
In a few months.
Right.
Michael Keaton's coming back. Talk about getting nuts. You want to get nuts?
Yeah, you want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. What do you mean that Michael Keaton and Ben Affleck didn't show up in this newer Batman movie and help him save the day?
They're both showing up in the Flash.
That means this is a bad movie.
Yeah. Bad movie. 1 star.
Yeah, 1 star. There was no cameos. There was no big action sequences that had characters from my past childhood.
Yeah. So
Chris O'Donnell wasn't in this movie. Throw the movie away.
Imagine if Chris O'Donnell was in the movie.
Chris O'Donnell should have played Carmine Falcone. He should have played Alfred.
Hashtag make Chris O'Donnell Red Hood in this universe.
Make Chris O'Donnell famous again. Remember when Chris O'Donnell was at the top of the world?
I do.
What we're doing for Brandon Fraser, we should do for Chris O'Donnell.
Agreed. Yeah. So we're gonna put a pin in the Batman.
Yeah.
Now we're over that hump.
Yeah.
On to Morbius.
I was going to say on to Doctor Strange, and I forgot about Morbius.
How dare you? A Marvel Legend is coming to the screens.
No, he's not. A Marvel Legend.
A Marvel Legend will rise.
Stop this.
He's
Stop
rising.
this at once.
Marvel Legend rising.
And he's going to fall just as quickly.
Dr. Michael Morbius at
There's
your
no
service.
way that Andrew Garfield's not in this book. There's absolutely no way. He has to be.
Somebody's got to be in this movie.
Right.
That's
I don't
not
care.
Tyrese.
I don't care if it's... There's no need for Tyrese Gibson to catch a stray, but cool. Man, Tyrese Gibson do to you? He's the best part about Fast and Furious.
He's pretty good.
Ejectocito, cuz. That's not cinema to you? That's cinema to me.
Move on to the next thing. What did you been watching besides Too Fast, Too Furious?
Ejectocito, cuz. I'm gonna get that tattooed on my body. You know how some people like have like multiple screens, like the YouTubers, and like they just have stuff playing? I'm just gonna have that scene play over and over again. Like that's gonna be my replay clip. It's just
the Riddler was an influencer.
I don't have the head scratch as much as other people do at that because it's very 2020. See, people don't like when things happen of the current day and age because I guess they hate the day and age they live in.
Which fair.
Right. Like, okay, but like, yeah, that like, how are you gonna get? That's a good way to get your goons, in my opinion, is to be a media influencer. It's just the switch of like, hey guys, it's your boy the Riddler.
I didn't expect it.
Right.
Hey, wait a minute, he's been,
I've been poisoned. But yeah, that was just out of left field. He's just like, thanks for the donations on detonators. You saw the comments, like, he said, what gauge rifle are you guys getting? I said, this is reminding me of something that happened in real life that I don't want to dive into right now.
These riddles are brought to you by HelloFresh.
He said, thanks guys. Squarespace was the sponsor of this video.
Type Riddler 22 at the end of
to receive 10% off your next pipe bomb. Man.
All right.
Yeah. So okay, because we could do this all day. I could do this all day. So Colin Farrell also had another movie that dropped the same day. So sorry, Colin Farrell, that the
you
Batman.
played yourself.
Yeah, you, man, it sucks because he actually made a really good movie. He was in a really good movie called After Yang, an A24 production house movie,
nice.
And basically, I love science fiction. I thought about it the other day, and science fiction usually has two realms, and one of them I think is way more important than the other one. Science fiction either has the big blockbuster future world, crazy ships flying around 24/7, explosions, space battles, whatever. Cool. That's fine. But I always say that science fiction works better when human emotion's at the core. And man, when I tell you, I was getting teary-eyed by just watching a robot's memories in this movie. That's basically so
nice.
So basically what this is it's the future, and Colin Farrell and his wife, they adopt a daughter from China, and basically how it goes is there's this company that will give you a I think they call them techno sapiens. So I guess, and it's a good part about science fiction, in my opinion, especially in the future. I love the ambiguity of the situation because it kind of allows your mind to run of what humans have evolved into and what our technology's evolved into. So basically, you can buy a surrogate brother or a surrogate sister for these children to kind of connect them to their Chinese heritage. And it's so well done. It's the subtlety that you got from Ex Machina as well. How seamless the transition between robot and human can be if you don't really look at it, if you were just to pass by. And it's there's not some big plot being, it's simply just people existing. And that's funny. I was talking to somebody about this the other day. I don't think we exist enough in movies. I was thinking about that when the Batman was going on, when he was just walking places, that's cool. We don't need an explosion or some big reveal every 2 seconds. We don't need that. It's sometimes good to just have people exist for a little bit, and this is a perfect example of that. Kind of as a mirror for how we kind of reflect on our memories after losing a loved one, how we reflect on their memories and look past on them and have them see how their perspective from their lives and how it was too. Because obviously if somebody dies abruptly, you start asking questions when they pass away too. So really beautiful movie. This is 2 weeks of beautiful A24 movies that I'm going back to back. So Colin Farrell, really good. Really, he just plays this it's so subtle, the way he goes about it. It's just he's just trying to reconnect his surrogate son with his daughter. That's it. That's the only thing that he's trying to do. He's just trying to fix him so he can, help his relationship with his daughter, which by the end of the movie he kind of realizes I need to be the one that's also there too. So just really well done. I couldn't stop thinking about it. Sci-fi, man, Her, Ex Machina, Dune. I think a lot of parts of Dune have that same thing where it's not I even said to you, one of my favorite parts of Dune is when they're caught in the sandstorm and Jamis, he has the vision of Jamis and he's kind of talking to him about the theory of life and how to live it. Cool, we love a space battle, but I think that's much more important. I love stuff like that. So yeah, really, really great science fiction that's not too overwhelming. It's just really nice to kind of get a reflection of human nature.
Nice. Cool. Check it out.
After Yang, it's on Showtime, so
ooh,
doing pretty. Yeah, no, man, I didn't have Showtime before yesterday, so I'll tell you that much. But yeah, make sure you guys watch as much as we love. I think I said this when I was talking about whatever, because I talk about a lot of other movies. Make sure y'all check out the other movies that are coming out. There's only so many superhero movies we can watch. Make sure you watch everything, because you might get some good stories that are a nice reflection of life. Look at me being so wholesome.
Yeah, that was good. Good message to end on.
Yeah, I'm gonna send that to schools to apply to. Look how good I am.
What have I been doing? I finished Horizon Forbidden West.
Yes, because I'm going to start playing that. And anytime I play a video game, I call Rob, and Rob pops on the PlayStation, and he walks me through it. That's how we do it.
Some 72 hours later that I put into this game, I finished it. It's magnificent, man. It really is.
It looks so beautiful.
It's the best looking next-gen game I've ever seen to this point in this early iteration of this generation. The story is brilliant. It really kicks up probably the last half is when the pieces start falling into place and you really get a sense of what's going on. And it's just, and this is okay, so this is like my mini rant. So Elden Ring also came out within the same time frame as Horizon Forbidden West, and there's been like this war going on between people who enjoy Horizon and people who enjoy Elden Ring. And
you're not a real gamer if you play Horizon Forbidden West because there's no challenge.
Yeah, because Elden Ring is impossibly hard, and it's a Souls game, and all these games have been roughly the same for the last 30 years.
I'm sorry, in my opinion, if you're not playing Tetris, then it's okay to have a story in your game.
Yeah,
it's not the end of the world.
I played Elden Ring for 6 or 7 hours. I couldn't get into it. I don't hate it. I played the Souls games, and coming off of a game in Horizon that does so many things with narrative and does so many interesting things with its combat mechanics. Like, I've seen a Souls game. I know how they play. Sword and shield, dodge roll 100 times to kill a boss. I get it. And I know but like, these two games are not comparable outside of the fact that they're both third person and they both have a semi-open world. That's it. That's the only similarities. That's where they begin and end. Totally different vibes. And the idea that one is inherently better than the other is ridiculous to me. And we talked about it in the beginning of this episode with like the tribalism that now exists with literally everything.
Yep.
And it's mind-blowing to me. It's like comparing another game that I played recently, Gran Turismo, which is a racing game. It's like comparing that to Mario Kart because they're both racing games and saying one's better than the other. It's not that simple. And enjoy what you enjoy, like what you like.
We've been going on rants lately because
people annoy me.
It's because, like I said, somehow movies, and it's funny. I was I'll just like my Twitter feed and Instagram feed are kind of curated to movies and like clips from movies, and it's like I'll always catch myself like people will put like edits together of like the beauty of cinema or something, and I'm like, that's why I love movies. I don't love movies because I have to look at this as a Super Bowl of like, we have to put this movie against this movie. Like, cool, but that's not why movies are made. That's not the thing. Like,
no, just enjoy what's being put in front of you right now, and like what you like. You know what I mean? Like, if people are into one thing and not into another, like, fine.
Yeah.
Like, who's it hurting?
Right.
Like, who did you offend? Like,
right.
Like, why are you getting offended because somebody didn't like a thing that you liked, or vice versa? Like,
right. I think the more important of this day and age is like somebody likes something that you didn't like. That like that's the one that feels much more apparent. Like,
yeah, you're like, you what?
Yeah. How
like
dare
this
you?
Thing?
Yeah.
Like, it's so infuriating. Like, just let people enjoy what they're enjoying.
Yeah, where did this competition come from of like everything?
And like, stop harassing people.
Right, that's a big thing too of like, it's almost like you need to be put down to like, as much as I make fun of Venom, who cares?
Yeah,
like,
it's not that serious.
It isn't. We're talking about a guy that can turn into like a monster of himself. Like, it's not that serious.
Yeah, nobody's saying that it's like the best movie ever.
Right.
Like, it's
except for you. Nobody's saying it's the best movie ever.
Yeah, besides me.
Right.
Nobody's saying that it's the best movie ever, that it's like it's transforming things or this, that. It's a thing that you just sit and watch for a couple hours and you have fun with it or you don't. That's it. It's as simple as that. Same thing with a video game, a TV show. Just stop comparing things. Just let things be what they are and like what you like, and don't be so loud about it.
Right. You can compare, like, we've compared stuff on here a million times,
sure. But not like a malicious way.
Right, exactly.
Where, like, if you like this thing, you're an idiot.
Right. Exactly.
So, all right, that's my rant. Next week, what are we doing next week? We don't have a thing. We don't have a thing next week.
What is next? So what is next week? Next week's what's next week's date?
15th?
It's gonna be the 15th around next week. So we might have a theme episode next week.
We're gonna have to.
We haven't done one of those in a little bit, unless this Thor: Love and Thunder trailer decides to strike down like some lightning.
Yeah,
and then that's gonna be what's next week's about, because it's gonna give me an excuse to talk Rob into reading Jason Aaron's Thor run and talk about Gore the God Butcher, one of my favorite villains of all time.
Yeah, true. We'll see. We'll see.
Thor, please, Taika, just please.
It's in the air. It's in the air. Next week's in the air.
These theme episodes, because all the theme episodes divulge into me asking to do a Daredevil episode and then being denied because we're waiting for Echo to come out, and I'm getting sick and tired of it.
Or we're waiting for Daredevil season 4 to come out.
You know how long that's gonna be? I can't do this for much longer.
But until then, you can follow us on Twitter at ProjectINF_pod. You can follow us on Facebook for all of our weekly and occasional updates whenever that is. You can follow us on Instagram.
At the Project Infinite Pod. I definitely wasn't yawning. It's late.
It's late again. Again, it's late.
The grind
Not
doesn't
as late
stop.
as the Batman record episode.
Wow, oh man, we
wrapped that up at like 1:30 in the morning.
Right, yeah, it was late.
But, because
there was nobody on the roads. I felt like Batman was on the roads when I was driving home.
Because I'm gonna reveal the huge plot twist from last week.
Oh yeah, nobody's ready. Y'all ain't ready for this.
So we saw Batman last week, and then
I want credit for this, but while you say it too,
and then we
this
recorded.
is my idea.
So we saw the Batman, came back here, recorded our Batman preview episode, and pretended that we hadn't seen the movie. And then recorded our Batman reaction right now. Oh no, we did the other way around.
Right, so we recorded the non-spoiler review, so our thoughts were still fresh. And then when we looked at each other, and we were like, we need to erase the last half an hour from our memory, or the last 3 or 4 hours roughly from our memory,
and pretend to do a Batman.
Yeah,
preview.
we had to go back in time.
We fooled you.
Yeah, we had to pull a Marty McFly.
So yeah, you can. That's all our socials. Next week, don't know. We're
gonna have some fun next week. Next week a Daredevil episode.
No!
Come on,
not
man.
yet. You gotta hold it. You gotta save it. Let it marinate.
It's been marinating for 33 weeks. It's been marinating.
Not marinated enough. It's not done.
Needs to be a 50th episode. I finally... That's gonna be my birthday episode.
This is what's gonna make you Rick. This is gonna make you turn into the Riddler. This is me not letting you do
this round. He said what's blind and runs around Hell's Kitchen. Daredevil.
Oh man. Alright. The Paul Dano of the podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I'll take Paul Dano specifically. You ever see Wildlife? I've talked about Wildlife on here. He directed Wildlife. The guy can not only act like a psychopath, he also is solid behind the camera.
Just like you.
Right. I guess. I thought you were going to give me Jim Gordon, but okay.
Well, I gave you Matt Reeves last week, so that took some luster away.
I mean, you intoxicated me with the whole directing thing, so that made me happy, but then you just brought it right back to give me the pseudo-psycho. Paul Dano has no track record of being a psycho in real life,
That we know about.
Plot twist, he's the Riddler in real life, too.
Oh, that would be fun.
Look out, Los Angeles. There's 7 bombs planted throughout the city.
Don't say that on a podcast.
Quotation, but just put quotations before and after I said it. Then they get...
Well, that's fine.
I just have to go to my Twitter followers and be like, what's up, guys? It's your boy. Back at it again. Make sure to like...
boy the Riddler.
Yeah. Go to Gotham City Bagels for 10% off your next purchase.
Hashtag still be Riddlin'.
Still be Riddlin'. Hashtag who's my soulmate. Hashtag roommates.
It's time for my Tuesday Riddle Me This question of the week.
If you get this, you get a free piece of merch. We need to wrap it up.
Wrap it up. We're wrapping it up. We'll see you next week for a thing.
Peace.